Hi, my topic for this presentation is Romanticism in American literature. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Elia Bañuelos, and the topic of my presentation today is American literature period of Romanticism, which took place in the year 1850, 1815, and 1860. These are some questions that you can answer at the end of the presentation, but I want you to think about these as we go through the presentation. What are some novels, poems, or literature that you can think of happened during this period? What are some historic events that happened during this time? So I'll answer those questions at the end of the presentation. So first of all, the arts during this era was definitely influenced by political and historical events. So during this time, there was many things happening with the revolution of period in France. There was a reign of terror in France. There was George III, who declared himself insane. And there was also the British Industrial Revolution that started in 1770 that had to do a lot with the change of the Romantic period. And here are some pictures that you can see that were important during this time. Secondly, I'm going to focus on some things, social, cultural, music, fashion, inventions, and poetry. These were some very famous things that were happening during this time. For example, the amazing Beethoven with his Fifth Symphony that were very famous during this time. There was also, because the music was such an influence on the culture during that time, we also had very famous poetics that wrote famous poems like William Blake, also William Wordsworth, that have very rapidly changed the culture of American literature during this time. So some of the things that we know that made a great change and impact during this time was the Great Revolution. It grew out of the frustration of many working class because of the fact that the factories in the larger cities were making a big change and impact on them. Why do you need to know this information? Well, during this time there was a lot of change, and there was popular authors like Edgar Allan Poe and Alexander Dumas with his famous The Count of Monte Cristo, which is the novel that I'm focusing on. They felt that, and they started a trend to value the feelings over intuition, over reasoning, and also value the integrity of nature and the freedom of the imagination as they wrote their novels. A lot of the love stories during this time would have triangles between three people, and it made it definitely a much more fun novel to read. It was a romanticism phenomenon that was happening during this time, and it was a magical moment for romance. In conclusion, in this presentation, my objective were to enhance your knowledge in the era of Romanticism, and I have covered three main points, which are the arts, the history, some social and cultural and music, poetry. I have also talked a little bit about The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas, some of the novels that were written during this time. And I really hope that you have found this presentation useful, and thank you very much. Any questions?